Well, some of us might buy for speed, and if someone were to give me £2,000, a straight road and no speed traps, this Lotus Europa would get me from Earl's Court back to Plymouth in under 2 hours.
Status is what appeals to me, and for £12,089, 37 new pence, a Rolls Royce Silver Shadow.
But I like a bit of fun in a car. I always go for the open car, and with this Triumph Spitfire 4 at just over £980, I reckon I could get all the fun and fresh air even I could cope with.
So those are some of the reasons for buying a motor car, but the basic one, of course, is convenience, simply getting from A to B, and you don't need to spend that kind of money. You could, for example, buy something like this Escort Sport at about £940. Well, of course, many of the people coming to the show this week will be looking for their very first motor car, and my goodness, I remember mine. It was a very second-hand Austin Devon which clattered and smoked its way across the bush roads of Nigeria. Nowadays, with a bigger family, I need a bigger car, so I've bought a Mercedes 280 SE automatic. All right, I know some of you want to shoot me for buying a foreign car, but, well, I like it.
And I like this. Lord Stokes may well accuse us all of high treason, but I've been seduced by this beautiful French Citroen, the SM. Up in front is an engine, a Maserati V6, which hauls this beautiful car along at 135 miles an hour. So it's a French body with Italian guts, and what man could possibly ask for more? A dream, certainly, very far removed from the reality of my first car. Early mini budgets dictated that those early driving experiences should be in a second-hand mini car. Well, now I've got a Rover 3500, which someone here referred to rather rudely just now, I thought, as an old man's car. If that's true, Rovers have certainly made up for it this year by producing a new manual version which is even faster. But this car has something else again. It's got style. And this little bit of French style will cost you very nearly £4,700.
A motor car is, of course, the great way of projecting your image to the world. Well, from the time I first bought my very first motor car, which was a rather snazzy Hillman Californian, of which I was inordinately proud, even if it was of rather uncertain vintage, to my present 3.4-litre Jag, my image has been rather diffused and difficult to pin down. But now at last, in this Range Rover, I've found my true image, that of a Highland country gentleman, hunting, fishing and shooting up the bends and down the glens and swarming all over the bonny braes. And if the great outdoors gets a little bit too rugged, well, I can still cut a dash in town. Someone like me, who's built for comfort rather than speed, well, this is just my style. So whether you're taking the road to the Isles or going over the sea to Skye, you take the high road or the low road. I don't need any road at all, one way or another. I'll be in Scotland afore you.
Well, my very first car couldn't climb hills, but it could and had to do just about everything else. I shared it with my brother. It was a 1935 Austin 10 drop-head coupe with dicky seat, and I think it was the best car I ever had. It did have one slight drawback. When you went very fast through puddles, the water would blow out the floorboards and you'd get rather wet. What car would I like to have? Well, that's not really possible. I would like to have any American car of the late 1930s or early 1940s, say a LaSalle Coupe 1939, or a 1939 Cadillac, or a 1940 Buick Limousine. But since it's not possible to have one of those, well, I'll make do with any of these handsome General Motors dreadnoughts. In actual fact, I will have to make do with my 3-year-old Simca 1100.
Well, for every driver who feels like making his presence known in a really big way, Maserati air horns are probably the answer. There are 3 basic types, the twin, the triple and the musical. The twin horn has a really penetrating discordant blast, but the triple has a flick-over switch, which means you can sound the 3 notes in quick succession or in unison. However, you won't be able to use this horn on a car made in or after August 1973 under new legislation. But there's nothing to stop you mounting it and using it on any car registered before that month for as long as you like. This same ruling applies to the multi-trumpet musical horns, which are available in at least 9 different themes. This is one of the most popular. And if you're thinking of getting married soon, then how about this one?
And the sound of the horn is also used in this, but in a rather different context, as you'll see in a moment. If you've ever had a car stolen, you'll be delighted to know that a whole new industry has sprung up with the sole aim of trying to make sure that you keep the car you buy. They reckon that this particular model is just about the most thief-proof car in the whole show. Now, even if you've got a key and manage to get inside the car, you don't really stand much chance of driving it away. Because of that alarm system, all hell breaks loose, the headlamps flash, and everything goes on, unless you're the driver and can turn it off. Now, that racket was caused by an identical gadget to this. £10 worth of electronic wizardry, that's all it costs. It fits underneath the dashboard of the car. It not only makes that sound and causes the headlamps to flash, but it also cuts out the electronic system of the car. So the ignition won't work anyway. You definitely can't drive the car away. This is also pretty useful, much cheaper than that, about £3. It's a combination lock that goes over the handbrake of the car, and of course, unless you know the personal combination, you can't let the handbrake off. And the combination principle is also used to safeguard another part of the car. Having made sure that you can't actually drive the car away, they now make sure that you can't pinch the wheels. Now, this is really nothing more than a little combination nut. These prongs here correspond to 4 holes on this nut. And unless you've got the key, you cannot undo that nut, and that wheel won't come off.
And if you've paid extra money for a special wheel like this, well, obviously it's all the more important that it stays screwed on tight. These are just a small handful of the many accessories that are on this year's display. But like this one, this could be the car aerial of the future. If you're getting a bit fed up of having yours pinched or bent over, you just stick this one to the inside of your windscreen, which is not only an aerial but also serves as a sun visor as well. As you go along the motorway, of course, always assuming that you start, and let's just have a look at that first. If your car does that most infuriating thing, just stay dead on these cold mornings, this could be the answer. A supercoil which blasts the engine with 18,000 sparks a minute. Having got started, it's obviously important to see where you're going. And can anything be more infuriating than these 2 twin jets that go everywhere on the windscreen but where you want them? This could be the answer. A simple little device which gives 7 jets of water exactly where the wiper can do most good with it. Obviously, just as important as seeing where you're going is seeing where you've been, and this kind of rear screen heater is now almost de rigueur on every car. But if, like me, you fancy yourself in your motor car speeding along the motorway like the captain of a jumbo jet, this is the kind of gadgetry that you'll be interested in. Compasses to see where you're going, a digital clock to tell you exactly the time, and this little device which monitors 6 or 7 different functions of the motor car with flashing lights to tell you when things are going wrong. And finally, as you go speeding along the motorway, some music. Well, if you're getting a bit tired of the whole business of twiddling knobs, this radio, which will cost you about £100, will end forever the whole business of twiddling knobs. It's electronic and completely self-seeking. It finds the stations itself.
No, Diane Harron and Hugh Scully aren't listening to themselves on Nationwide, but the headphones do give a clue to a large stand at the show this year, in-car entertainments. And perhaps the most luxurious in-car entertainment is stereo. Well, of course, stereo sound has been around for about 3 years. What's new are the headphones. Cost? Well, cost of the cartridge, which you insert, between £2 and £4. Cost of the stereo unit, to install, between £45 and £200. Cost of the headphones, £15 the pair installed. But don't buy a pair for Dad. It's illegal for the driver to wear them. But of course, he can still listen to the music on the speakers.
And yet another status symbol is the number plate, a really personal one, that is, with your initials as part of the number. There's a tracer plate stand here at the show if you're curious about who owns a distinctive number.
Over the years, an exclusive club has grown up within the motoring fraternity, a kind of by their numbers, thou shalt know them clique.
And the present registration system is making it harder and harder to find an unusual number.
FYK239C, for instance, isn't likely to get you VIP treatment.
Ah, whereas that 69 might get you free parking outside St. Peter's in Rome.
But every August the 1st, we're faced with a new generation of cars with K or H or L after their number. Note, August the 1st, not January the 1st.
And as this year's letter is K, it means that next August the 1st, your car becomes clearly and identifiably old.
It all began with an Earl Russell who pushed or steered the Number Plate Act through Parliament. Now, his perk for the job, the most exclusive number plate of all, A1.
Well, the option on that plate was sold some years ago for £2,500, so clearly there's money in them there number plates.
Lots of show business people go in for the exclusive number plate. According to the man who's running the Trace a Plate stand, car numerologist Noel Woodall.
COM1C reads comic and belongs to Jimmy Tarbuck.
HS92 to Harry Seacombe.
BR8 belongs to Brian Ricks.
And MB1 to Max Bygrid, who will not sell it to Michael Barratt.
What a pity. I'd at least be able to remember my own number then. But if you go in for personal number plates for reassurance, the king-size complex appears to belong to Sir Gerald Nabarro, with nabs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8.
Ah, yes, but one of those just a shopping car. For sheer togetherness, first prize must go to AB11 and DB25, known to their friends as Albert and Doris Burton of Lancashire. But top prize in number plates must go to this one.
BRA 36 belongs to the owner of, surprise, surprise, a ladies' underwear firm.
So how do you make sure that your children travel safely? Well, let's start right at the beginning with Kate here. She's 6 months old and she's in a carry-cot restraint. And if you've got a child up to 9 months old, this is the best solution. There's only one on the market at the moment, made by KL Gine. It costs £3.50. The straps fit into adult seatbelt fittings on the back seats. Of course, not all cars have these, and in any case, a fourth anchor is necessary here. You have to drill it in order to secure this strap. When your child begins to want to sit up and look at the view, the next step is the safety chair. Now, there's a selection of these on the market that call themselves safety chairs, but it depends what you mean by safe. Some are positively lethal, especially if you hook them over a front seat that tips up. The two safest chairs I could find are the Brightac Star Rider and the KL Gine safety seat, provided, of course, they're bought with the full fitting kit and anchored properly. This KL Gine chair that Henrietta's in, are you happy, Henrietta? Look, very nice there. This KL Gine chair is recommended from 9 months to 5 years, and it's attached to the body of the car in 4 places, just like the carry-cot restraint. In addition, Henrietta here has a harness. Shall we look at your harness? With a quick release clip here that she can continue to use up to the age of 12. So, if you want your children to travel completely safely, either their harness or their chair has to be attached to the body of the car in at least 3 places. Sorry about the banging. If you can't afford a safety seat, then the next best thing is a harness, even if the kids can't see out of the window. Apart from KL Gine, Clipper Safe, like this one here that Georgina's wearing, and Guardian Angel make British standard tested harnesses for children from the moment they can sit up for between 3 and 4 pounds. What you have to decide in the end is whether the belt or seat you buy is to stop the children clambering around all over the car, or whether it's really meant to protect them in case of an accident.